Hi everyone, thanks so much for watching this presentation on the Fiscal Year 21 Thrive Funding Overview and Guidelines. We're currently in Cycle 2 of the Thrive funding this fiscal year. My name is Marissa LaRoe. I'm the Program and Evaluation Coordinator here at Metro Arts. And today I'm just going to go over a little bit of information about the Thrive program, how to apply, and common frequently asked questions about the program. So let's start by going over what the Thrive program is. Some of you may be very familiar with Thrive already, and some of you may be new to the program. Thrive is a funding program that was set up outside of Metro Arts' traditional grant funding programs to open up funding opportunities to individuals and organizations who may not be eligible for a traditional Metro Arts grant. So Thrive is a funding program designed to build, strengthen, and cultivate communities in Nashville and Davidson County by supporting artist-led projects that encourage artistic and cultural experiences, community investment, and neighborhood transformation. So successful Thrive projects will promote artistic excellence, impact neighborhoods, actively engage residents in the planning and art-making process, and promote cultural equity. And you can read more about the Thrive program on our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. So the Thrive program, like all of our strategic funding initiatives, supports Metro Arts' overall outcomes. Those outcomes are supporting vibrant creative neighborhoods, stronger creative workers, and deeper cultural participation. And that leads us toward our overall vision that every Nashvilleian participates in a creative life. So let's go over some of the highlights from the Thrive guidelines. You can find the full guidelines on our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. And if you haven't looked at those already, I really encourage you to go over them carefully as you put your application together. These are going to have all the details that you need to know about what needs to be involved in a project, what goes into the application, how the application process will work, what the scoring is going to be, all the attachments that you're going to need. These have all the details, and we'll just go over in this presentation some of the highlights. So first of all, one of the most important aspects of any successful Thrive project is going to be that community focus. So that means that partnerships with other artists, organizations, businesses, and/or neighborhood groups are required as part of Thrive funding. The projects have to be open to the public and accessible and welcoming to people of all cultural backgrounds, economic status, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, and ability. And then very importantly, a community design process must inform some aspects of the art. So the artist is working with the community to create the art together. And previously creative artworks, performances, or creative content are not eligible, but traditional content is okay. So up to $9,500 is available per project. And this slide goes over what funds can and cannot be used for. And again, the guidelines have more details about this. Basically, funds can be used to pay for artist fees, project coordinator fees, and non-durable project and program supplies. So that's supplies that you'll use to make the project, make the artwork, but not supplies that will outlast the length of the project. So the funds cannot be used for capital improvements and equipment purchases, reduction of debts, food and beverage, activities or programs with religious content, political lobbying, fundraising events, purchase of property, performance space or facility rental, marketing and promotion, or durable program and project supplies. So again, that's supplies that are going to outlast the length of the project. So you can apply for one project per fiscal year, and we are currently in the second funding cycle of this fiscal year, so that January 2021 funding cycle. And projects can occur at any time within the fiscal year as long as they are completed by June 2021. And just one note, projects that are resulting in a public artwork do require the approval of the Metro Arts Public Art Committee and a plan for long-term maintenance and/or removal of the artwork. So when you get into the application, you'll see there's a specific form to fill out if you have a project that includes a public artwork. And you'll just need to upload that form, and then there'll be some additional review steps in the application process for that project. So one requirement that's new this year is that if you are working with youth or in youth settings, we will require a background check. If you've previously completed a background check for another organization in the past year, you can provide us a copy of that background check, and that will happen as part of the awarding process. So you won't need to worry about this until after award announcements are made, and then we'll be in touch with you about either completing that background check or providing us with a copy of a background check that you've had completed previously. And then having an item come up on your background check does not necessarily render you ineligible from Thrive funding, but it will require further review from Metro Arts. And you can just email Metro Arts with any questions that you have about that and background checks. Okay, so we've gone over what kind of projects are eligible for Thrive funding. So let's talk about who can apply. So you can apply if you are an individual artist or a team of artists. And you can also apply if you're a business or an organization. Again, you don't have to be a 501c3 nonprofit for this funding. You do have to be 18 years or older, and you do have to live or primarily work in Davidson County. And when you get into the application, you'll see a place to upload proof of residency, and there are a lot of different options for how to prove your residency that you live or work here. And you can find more information about those in the Thrive guidelines, or you can email us for more information if you have questions about that. So there are some instances where someone would not be eligible to apply, and that would be if you're an organization or you're working with a project that is funded in any way by a Metro Arts grant. So if your organization gets a grant from Metro Arts, or if the project that you're applying for is in some way funded by a Metro Arts grant, you won't be able to apply for Thrive funds. Also not eligible would be previously funded Thrive projects, so we don't want to just repeat the same thing that we've already done. And then also artists who are under contract for Metro Arts public art commissions. And then also anyone who is or has immediate family members serving as an employee of Metro Nashville, Davidson County, or Metro Public Schools, or who are serving as a member of the Metro Arts Board of Commissioners or the Public Art Committee. And then several things are new this year compared to previous years of Thrive funding. So again, background checks will be required when working with youth or in youth settings. And if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to email us here at Metro Arts. And then COVID social distancing plans. So we know that there's still a great deal of uncertainty about what the coming fiscal year is going to look like in terms of if we can interact face-to-face, hold in-person events, things like that. So we want to know what your backup plans are if your original project design needs to change to comply with social distancing. So currently Nashville is in a modified phase 2 according to the mayor's roadmap to reopening. And we would encourage you to take a look at the requirements for the different phases that are available on the mayor's office website and be thinking about how you might create a plan B or a plan C should we go to an earlier stage in the plan, or should you be unable to meet face-to-face. And then we also have a question about your evaluation plan, and we just want to know what success will look like for your projects and how are you going to show that success. So for some projects, certainly part of showing success will be the completion of the project. You'll have some art to display or a performance to show, but then also thinking about what success looks like for the community that you're working in and how you can show the ways that that project lifted up the voices of that community or positively impacted that community in some way. And then we also have new questions about a cultural equity plan. So we want to know how the project includes underrepresented groups that may have been left out of arts funding or discourse or leadership in the past. And this includes, but is not limited to, people of color, people of all ages, differently abled people, LGBTQ people, women, and people from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds. And then I wanted to talk about some examples of recently funded Thrive projects. And these are all examples from our April 2020 Thrive funding. And I really encourage you to take a look at these because these projects were all completed during lockdown, during our phase 1 of social distancing. And they have some great examples of how to be collaborative and engage neighborhoods in a collaborative way without meeting face-to-face. So some examples that were funded and that you can look at on our website are virtual poetry and music shows, a collaborative theater project that was combined into a film where each person involved in the performance videotaped themselves and then it all came together into one film, online improv, dance, art, and music classes, online writing workshops and virtual concerts, billboard murals, collaborative visual art projects. There was one where people posted different photographs that they took and it's going to be put together into a visual art project. Virtual galleries to exhibit community artwork, and lots of other really great projects. So again, check out metroartsnashville.com/thrive to see more examples of recently funded Thrive projects. So some things to consider as you put together your plans for Thrive projects this coming fiscal year. Think about ways that you can be creative in engaging the community and your partners during social distancing. So ways that you can maybe use technology or creative solutions to work together to create art without necessarily meeting face-to-face. And then also think about what does success look like for your project and for your community and how you're going to show that. And then also have a plan for managing the funding and communicating with Metro Arts. So after you're awarded the funding, we will have staff members who are in touch with you somewhat frequently just about completing forms, how to use logos correctly, stuff like that. And it can be really helpful if you can identify a point person in your organization or on your project team to be that person that's communicating with Metro Arts, just so that everything can run smoothly. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's included in the application. So you'll first need to complete the Thrive application form, and there's a link to that on the Thrive page on the Metro Arts website. Again, that's metroartsnashville.com/thrive, and that will be through our submittable portal. It's pretty easy to use. You create an account and log in, and then you just fill out the form there on Submittable on the website. And then artist supporting materials. So if you look in the Thrive guidelines on pages 5 to 6, it goes over in details what kind of materials you can upload to show that your lead artist is a working artist and show us their work. And then the lead artist resume or CV that shows at least 2 years of professional artistic work. And again, more information about that in the guidelines. And then 1 letter of recommendation and 1 letter of support from a community partner. Then there's a budget form that's included in the application on Submittable, and a timeline form that allows you to show the timeline of your work and when things are going to happen. And then if your project is going to result in public art, there's a public artwork information form to complete and upload in Submittable. And if your project is going to be working with youth, there's a youth arts engagement information form to complete and upload in Submittable. And both of those are available on our website, and they're also available when you first click apply on the Submittable portal. You'll see a link to download both of those forms. And you can complete them and just upload them right into the application. And if you have any questions about that or you run into any technical difficulties, feel free to email Metro Arts staff and we can help you through that. So let's go over some key dates for the application process for Cycle 2. So all applications will be due at noon on January 26, 2021. And again, the link to apply is available on Metro Arts website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. After that, between January 27th and February 5th, Metro Arts staff review all the applications for an initial eligibility review, just reviewing to check for completeness and to make sure that the projects fit with the Thrive guidelines. Applications that pass that stage will then move to the community panel review stage. Community panel review will be held on February 19th of 2021, and you can read more about the community panelists in the Thrive guidelines. And then after that, the Metro Arts Commission meets to approve the final funding recommendations, and awards will be announced by March 19th of 2021. So an important note, during that initial eligibility review by Metro Arts staff that happens between January 27th and February 5th, make sure you're checking your email and your voicemail. If there's information that's missing from the application, or if we think you have a really strong application, but we think you should go back in and add a little bit of information, we will be contacting you via email or via phone during this period. So make sure that you have a way to be reached during this period. So if you look on pages 4 and 5 of the Thrive guidelines, you'll see the scoring rubric that will be used by that community panel to determine who gets recommended for funding, which applications get recommended for funding. And that rubric has much more detail about each of these, but I'll just go over them briefly. There are 20 possible points that an application can receive, and they're divided into 4 categories. So up to 5 points are available for artistic excellence, and this is looking at, is there a professional artist that's involved in the project? Does the project have strong artistic vision? And then importantly, is there that artist-led community involvement? So is the artist working closely with the community to produce the project? And then up to 5 points are available for community engagement and placemaking. So for this, we're looking at if there's a demonstrated vision for how that project's going to positively impact the community, if there's an articulated community need, basically how the community benefits from this project. And then up to 5 points are available for feasibility and logistics. This is where we're looking at if you have a clear timeline, clear project plans, if the budget makes sense, and if you have clear measures of success, and someone's clearly in charge of the project, and there's going to be that point person identified to work with Metro Arts. And then new this year, there are up to 5 points allotted for cultural equity. So this is where we're looking to see if the project has that commitment to people who have historically been left out of arts funding, leadership, and discourse. Especially looking at going beyond simple representation of those communities and those groups, and really involving those communities and groups and lifting up their voices through the project. So I wanted to go over some frequently asked questions that have come up so far in the application process. And at the end of the presentation, you'll see my email address, and if you have additional questions, you can email me those questions and we can get back to you. So one that's come up is when we're anticipating projects in this round of funding to begin. And again, the project dates are flexible as long as they fall within that July 1st, 2020 to June 2021 fiscal year. And we are asking that projects wrap up by June 15th, even though the fiscal year goes through June 30th. We do need to have that cut off at June 15th just so that we can get closeout done on our ends. And then I'm a past Thrive recipient. Can I propose a project that uses a similar model to a past project, but serves a new community, engages new partnerships, and addresses issues specific to that community? Will this be different enough? So this question came up because in the application it asks if you've received Thrive funding before, how is this project different? And the answer to this would be yes. If you want to use a similar model to a project that you have done before through Thrive, you absolutely can, but it needs to have that different lens. So it's serving a new community, it's working with new partners, it's getting at different issues. So the model can be replicated, but make it different than it was before. And then another great question that came up, our organization plays traditional music, not original music. Is our project still eligible for Thrive funding? So yes, traditional music is eligible as long as the songs are not licensed. So you can absolutely do traditional music as part of your project. And then if we are applying as an organization, should we submit work samples for the artist work samples from the lead artist or examples of work produced by our organization? So the example here was samples of artwork produced by program participants in their organization. And the answer there is that either option is acceptable, and you'll want to choose the work samples that make the best case for your organization to lead the project. So if you're applying for Thrive funds as an organization and you have an artist working with you who's going to lead that project, it may make more sense for that artist to say, hey, here's what I do, here's a sample of that. Or it may make more sense for the organization to say, hey, we work with communities like this before, here's some of the work that they've produced through our previous work, and use that as your artist sample. So it's whatever is going to make the best case for your application. So if you have any additional questions about the Thrive guidelines or Thrive or this funding opportunity, you can feel free to reach out to me. Again, I'm Marissa LaRoe, and my email address is there on the screen, marissa.laroe@nashville.gov. You can also reach out to Janine Cristiano, who's our Strategic Funding Initiatives Manager. Her email is janine.cristiano@nashville.gov. So we are really looking forward to reading your applications and hearing more about your projects. You can also contact us if you would like a coaching consultation, if you'd like to meet with us as you put your application together. We are available for that. So just reach out at those email addresses or give us a call and we will get that set up for you. Thanks so much. We look forward to seeing your applications.